And so what I'm super excited about today is I look forward to these meetings every Monday because I'm taking notes, listening to Kevin talk about the things that we hear in real estate and how to push past these disbeliefs or myths or however you want to call them. So this guy Kevin Harris has brought his high school football team to the state championships twice and won once. Is that right? Once, yeah. I mean, this guy knows coaching. This guy knows how to get people into production. Knows how to get people to take action. So I'm super excited to introduce the Kevin Harris. Kevin's yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm super excited anytime I get to jump on this call. And today we're going to talk a little bit about, not a little bit, we're going to talk a lot in 15, 20 minutes about how to actually have a sustainable pipeline. I mean, so how many of you guys, I want you to comment in the comment section, but how many of you guys either have struggle, or hope never to struggle with leads in your pipeline anymore? I know I've coached thousands of agents for, gosh, it's going on 12 years. And I will tell you, one of the biggest reasons why agents get out of this business has nothing to do with their personality, has nothing to do with who they are, where they came from, or even their vision of what they want. It has to do with they just can't figure out how to have consistent lead flow, how they just consistently be able to have that 1 deal, 2 deal, 5 deals a month. It is just crazy in this business that there are thousands of transactions that happen every single month in this business, yet we have so many realtors that are in and out of this business in 5 years. It's a staggering amount. And after coaching, mega producers and brand new agents, this seems to be the constant struggle, at least with the new and the agents that are trying to build whatever it is they're trying to build, how big their team is, things like that. So I start off with this talk with this one simple premise. Hope is not a pipeline. Hope is not a pipeline. Hope is a great girl's name. Like I love the name. If anybody's on this call named Hope, or you got a daughter that named Hope, you can put that in the chat. But Hope's a great girl's name. Hope springs eternal. Like, everybody wants hope. It's good to have it. And hope is just one of those things that I think everybody should have in their life. However, it's a terrible business plan. It's just, hope is not a great business plan at all. And most agents, they get into this business and they hope that people are going to come to their open houses. They hope that people are going to call them. They hope that people see that Facebook post that they put out there. And that's just a terrible business plan. Very few businesses, if any, will ever survive by hoping things happen. We've actually got to create. We've got to implement. We've got to have a strategy. And those are all business terms. And they're also terms that actually allow you to build a predictable business. So I will tell you this. Hustle will allow you to have a false sense of security in this business. Like I was a hustler. I got in this business. I was a football coach. I came out, I live in Texas. And so right now, every time I go outside, I thank God that I no longer on the football field because it's about 105 degrees. And I loved coaching football for as many years as I did, but it's great to be indoors with air conditioning. And I will tell you, but because of that, when I got into the real estate business, man, I just put my head down. I found a couple of ways to get leads, and I just put my head down and went to work. And although that will work short term, most of the time, if not all the time, you're going to wind up burning yourself out. And I did. I had a problem early on, like about 18 to 24 months, is I was constantly working with buyers and sellers and wearing all the hats and having nothing as far as a business when you looked at it from a sellable business, right? And I had no systems. It was just everything was just slung together. And although you can make money in this business, you can't sustain it that way. And I always say you don't need more hustle, you need more systems. And I had to learn that the hard way. I'm the type of guy that when mom said that the stove was hot, I had to put my hand on the stove to actually make sure it was hot. And unfortunately, a lot of times I'll learn the same way. But you don't have to, right? You can learn. And I always say knowledge is something that you either gain from yourself or you gain from others. Choose wisely, right? Because if you go learn the knowledge for yourself, it's usually a little more painful. So what would it take in your business? What's the number? Like I said, I do a business planning clinic in October of every year. And what would it take? What's the number per month or per quarter that it would take for you to be able to breathe in your business and actually make it feel like a business? I don't know what it is, but I know that it's probably not in the hundreds. It's probably not even the multiple, not 20 or 30. It's probably like one a month or two a month or five a month. And how do you actually do that? How do you actually get it where, not necessarily consistently every month, because we can't necessarily dictate when things close or when things are put on the market. But I look at my business more in quarters. Like how many deals do I need, transactions in a quarter, to make my business feel like a business? And so if you don't know that number, I would encourage you, whether it's my business clinic or whether it's somebody else's, that you do the work to actually get that number. There's not a single service business, there's not a single business, a brick and mortar business that they open up, small business, that if you have to go take a loan and you have to go to the bank, one of the first things they ask you for is a thing called a pro forma, which is nothing more than a glorified business plan. Like, they actually have to present that to get money, right? But most real estate agents, we put, $2,000 or $3,000 on a credit card, or maybe we take it out of the savings and we go through some schools, depending on what state you're in. And, 6, 8, 12 weeks later, boom, you have a business. It's called real estate, right? And most realtors don't actually sit down and create a business plan and how their leads are actually going to come in. And so one of the problems I had early on is about 2.5 years in, because I was a coach and because I was a corporate trainer before I became a football coach, I had some success. And I was in a big brokerage, and they asked me to start coaching agents, which is my passion. I do it right now. I do it full time. And one of the things that I couldn't turn that down. That's the thing that gives me energy. The problem is I still had a small team that I ran. I was still in production. And now I'm going to start taking away that time to start actually coaching other agents how to do the same thing. Well, when you take something, there's a saying, when you focus on something, you lose focus on something else. And the reality is most of the time, if we start going down a road of like taking our focus to the shiny bauble, the latest, greatest thing, it's going to take our focus off of the thing that actually may be generating the business. And so I got most of my business my first 2 years through open houses, because it was cheap. If I did it right, if I put the signs out in the right time so the city didn't take them up or I didn't get them stolen, it literally was cents on the dollar for the leads that were coming in. And I was able, I teach a master class on it now, because I was able to get one deal for every 4 open houses. Was my historic number. And I love stats, so I keep stats all the time. But saying that, when you start coaching or when you start building a team, guess what you don't have anymore? You don't have that time. And so what winds up happening is most agents, when like you start your business, like I started mine, and you start doing open houses, or you start calling for sub owners, or you start working in your sphere, whatever that is, if you don't build systems to help you scale that, what'll happen is you'll start to get tired, or you'll start to feel bored, and you'll go and you'll do something else. And this is what happened to me. I started doing online lead flow. So I started focusing on online, and this was before great companies like Cloud Realty existed. So this was like, you had to create your own ads, you had to create your own follow-up system. There was no AI in this conversation at all. So it was like you had to hit 15, 20 touches for almost every lead. Well, that's time, right? And so what was happening was, over the course of about 2 or 3 years, because I was taking time away in coaching, and then taking time away to do networking, and taking time away to do online leads, I wasn't actually stacking my lead flow. I was actually replacing it, which the problem with that is if you close 25 or 30 deals a year, and then you just quit doing open houses like I did and start doing online leads, guess how many deals you wind up closing? 25 or 30 a year. And it literally, you're not building your business. You're just replacing how you get your business. And that's again, I was hoping that I could get it all done. Terrible business plan, right? So how do you actually go from this chaos that we have in our business, this entrepreneurial spirit that we almost always have, how do we actually go from that and then start scaling and treating our business like a business? Because one of the things that I know about the entrepreneurial trap, and if you're on this call and you have to be an entrepreneur and you feel like you're creative and you feel like you like all this stuff, you may relate to this, is that there's a ceiling with any entrepreneurial journey. And I tell agents this all the time, and I had somebody tell me this a long time ago, and as I've started coaching agents, it seems like it's held true. My entrepreneurial ceiling was somewhere between 12 to 13 deals a year. What does that mean? That means if I just walked around and was just Kevin, I was just the Kevin Harris, just walking around, letting everybody know who I was and just saying, hey, I'm a realtor, and hey, I could generate somewhere between 12 to 13 deals, 15, maybe 15 on a good year. The problem is I wanted 40. So to get from 15 to 40, I needed a plan because I couldn't do it on my own. Most agents are somewhere between, if you're a hustler, you'll do somewhere between 3 to 6 to, I've never seen an agent be able to get above about 20 in that entrepreneurial conversation. If you want something, if you want to actually scale your business, you've got to have those systems in place. So to go from a hustler to a builder, it takes a different mindset. It takes a mindset of, I own a business, I'm the CEO, I'm also probably the COO, and I have to actually treat my business like a business. So how do we do that? Especially in the pipeline, because I always say this, and this is a sales saying that I learned a long time ago. You want to solve your problem, sales solve all problems. Simple. Sales solve all problems. You literally get more sales, you can hire people to do certain things. You get more sales, you can leverage investment properties. You get more sales solve all problems. Okay, now they create problems too, but they do solve most of our problems. So how do we get that amount of sales, whether it's 1 a month, 2 a month, 5 a month, it doesn't matter what the number is. How do we actually build a system that we know we're going to get that from? So in the lead flow, I basically come up with 3 different ways that you have to look at it. Okay, so number 1, identifying what your lead sources are. Identifying what your lead sources are. I call them lead levers. So like pretending like you're pulling down a lever, you can only pull down so many levers at a time. Like normally you can pull down about 2, okay, because you got 2 hands, but you can't pull down like 5 or 10. You got to focus on where are your leads coming from and where do you want them to come from? Okay, because those are sometimes can be 2 different things, especially if you haven't done your business plan. But number 1 is your sphere, your database. If you are an agent, almost without exception, I did an interview with a panel of about 5 agents. They were anywhere from 15 million to about 60 million. Okay, and they had teams, and they gave me all these different lead sources that they got. But then when I asked them this question, what is your highest percentage of lead flow? Where does it come from? All of them. Okay, and they had online leads and networking leads and all these type of leads. But all of them said about 50% of the business came from their sphere. So even at scale, okay, that means their sphere, their buyer's agent sphere, but even at scale, about 50% of your business will come from your sphere. Now, here's the counterpoint. If you're not working your sphere, you're losing a potential of 50% of your business. Okay, so saying that should be a big portion of your business because we're a relational business. Now, if you moved in from another area, if you don't have any people that you know in a particular area, it will change a little bit, but for the most part, that should be the number 1 source, or at least one of your higher sources. The next thing would be then how are you going to spend your time versus your money? Okay, so let's look at online leads like Cloud Realty, right? You can scale that. That's literally a scalable lead flow. Yes, there is an investment on it, but you're buying your time. Okay, so if you don't buy your time, that means you're going to spend a lot of time doing your open houses, your community events, your social media where you're shooting videos. Those are all great sources of leads as well. But you've got to figure out where do you want your leads to come from based off of what your business plan is. And if you don't have a business plan, it's hard to do that. Okay, so first off, just sit down and go, okay, I'm going to pick 2 to 3 of where my main sources of leads are going to come from. It should be something with your sphere. I would tell you it should be something, especially with Cloud Realty, and I know most people on this call know what Cloud Realty is. You should be able to do that because they're leveraging a lot of their business and you're not having to worry about, doing the follow-up as much as you would if you just created that lead flow on your own. And then pick another one. I always say pick something that's more of a hunting activity, which is open houses or social media marketing, where you're actually doing videos every day. If you went to my channel, The Kevin Harris on Instagram, it's a coaching channel, but there's over 1,200 videos on there, okay? And some are great, some are not great, some are terrible, right? But the reality is it's about the repetition, it's about the consistency. And you just create a plan for it, and then just execute on the plan, okay? So number one, lead sources. Figure out what your lead sources need to be. Don't go out and do FISBOs and expireds and open houses. And now you can eventually do that if you scale your business, but what you focus on expands. Okay, so making sure that you actually focus on 2 to 3, because that's about how much time we have every week to devote to lead flow. And here's what I would tell you: if you spend 2 hours a day, I've never met a single agent, and there's not very many agents that do this. But if you spent 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, 10 hours a week, okay, 10 hours a week of focused lead generation, doesn't matter where, calling for sale by owners, doing open houses, connecting with your database or connecting with your CRM and your online leads, doesn't matter what it is, I guarantee you will be at least a 6-figure, if not multiple 6-figure earner. Guaranteed. If you don't believe me, do it for a year, come back and tell me I'm wrong, right? Because the reality is 10 hours a week of consistent lead generation. Again, you pick the 2 or 3 that you're going to focus on, will get you what you're probably looking for. But most agents are just not consistent. They're hoping when that lead comes in, it'll be a one and done. Like the lead comes in from Cloud Realty and it's a live transfer. And of course that person's every one of them's going to say, yes, I want you to represent me. You don't even have to say anything. I just love the way you sound. Right? It doesn't really work that way. We have to get good at whatever lead flow we're focusing on. So number one, pick your lead flow. Number 2, how many times are you touching them? Like how many times are you actually building a relationship with these people? Okay. Weekly touches should be your goal. You should be touching your sphere, not necessarily all of them, depending on how big your sphere is, or how big your CRM is, how big your lead flow is. But you should be touching and following up with them every single week. At least a portion of them. You should have a rhythm that you actually keep your weekly touches. And I'll give you an example of what you can do. 5 personal texts. So pick 5 people a day or 5 people a week, depending on how much time you have to spend on it. 5 DMs. Go into Facebook. Go into Instagram. See something that you see that little Johnny, just because we're getting to the end of summer, just won the championship in 12U baseball. Well, go in and congratulate little Johnny's mom and dad that you saw that. That's a huge touch point, okay? And then I do a class on this. I mean, here's a aha on this. Instead of just going in and DMing, why don't you take that picture, send it to one of the local printers that is online, and then ship it to them and have them picture frame of little Johnny winning that? Because I guarantee you they probably didn't do that. Okay, but you're going to all of a sudden get a lot of credibility with those people when you start reaching in and touching them at that level. Emails. Obviously, we all know we should be doing emails. You should do an email campaign. Cloud Realty, you should lean on Cloud Realty for this too, because they will help you develop these email campaigns. It's very easy to do now with AI and the systems that you use. Set it and forget it kind of thing once you get it done. But you actually got to plan for it. You actually have to build a business around it. You actually got to figure out when you're going to implement it in your business. And then obviously face-to-face meetings. As many times, nothing beats a face-to-face meeting, okay? Nothing, because you're going to build rapport that you can't do over the phone. You can't even do it really at Zoom, although that's probably the second best to a face-to-face. But the reality is putting in your schedule every single week at least 2 face-to-face meetings, and whether that's buyers, sellers, potential leads, vendors, just being in that rhythm of creating the conversation. There's a saying out there that I love about agents. The agent who talks to the most people wins on purpose. The agent that talks to the most people wins on purpose, not by accident, not by hoping, not by entrepreneurial. They win on purpose. So you got to ask yourself in your business, are you winning on purpose? Okay. Is your business look like it's purposeful, or does it look like it's entrepreneurial? I won't mention the guy, but there's a guy that is considered one of the biggest economists in the industry. He's been doing it for over 30 years. Has built a huge brokerage of thousands upon thousands of agents, he says this: for every 100 people in your database, you should be closing 17 deals a year from them. For every 100 people in your database, you should be closing 17 deals. Now, that doesn't mean that they're doing 17 deals, but it's they or someone they know. And if you're building a conversation through DMs, through textings, through emails, through phone calls, through meetups, through events, and you're building that in your system, for every 100 people that you bring into that ecosystem, there's 17 deals happening that they either them or someone they know. Just think about that. Do the math. Go back into your own CRM and do the math and go, oh my gosh, am I even closing a fraction of that? Because if not, there's an opportunity. You don't need to go out and go get more leads until you've mastered some of this. Okay. Number 3, follow-up. Follow-up. There's money. I call it it's the most expensive and it's the most lucrative FU in the industry. Follow-up. Because the reality is, if you are not following up on your deals, you are losing thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars. My statistic of 1 deal for every 4 open houses is not for every 4 open houses someone walked in the door and says, I want to buy this house. That's not that stat. The stat is for every 4 open houses I did, I averaged 7 people that I met, so a total of 28 people over the course of the next 6 months. 1 deal came from those conversations through the people I met, through the door knocking, through the media ads that I ran. If it was my listing, all of that created 1 deal. But I only had to actively go do 4 open houses. Okay, but then all the stuff you do around it and all the follow up you do is what actually makes it a business. Okay. If you're not following up, and I always say this, it's easy because we get in our head of like, oh, I don't know if they're home, or I don't know if they're going to like me, or maybe they're busy, maybe I'll call them tonight. We get all this stuff in our head. Here's what I would tell you: get out of your head and just look at it 2 ways. You're either going to follow up with them until they say, come help me, or leave me alone. One of the two. And if they haven't said either one of those, keep calling them, keep texting them, keep DMing until they say, come help me or leave me alone. If you will just take that mentality when you meet people, you will push the people out that are not going to do business with you. And you want to know that because you don't want to waste time. And then you also will find the people that do want to do business with you. And again, you don't need everybody. You just need 1 or 2 or 5 a month to say yes. That's it. Whatever the number is. Okay. So number 1, know where your leads are coming from. So figure it out. Pick 2 or 3 and just focus on it. Number 2, making sure you're touching them on a regular basis. Number 3, making sure that you have a follow-up system to continually talk to the people that you just talked to about talking to the people that you talked to, right? So, but making sure your CRM is intact, making sure you use it, making sure when Cloud Realty gives you a lead and they put it in the CRM that you're actually tracking, you're actually doing the things. If you have your own CRM outside of that, making sure you have the systems in your own CRM, whether it's Follow Up Boss, whether it's KD Core, it doesn't matter what it is. You've got to be able to use your system to be able to scale this. And lastly, making sure that you invest in yourself by using AI, getting where you actually learn. It's not going away. It's getting smarter and smarter every single day. It's going to take over the world, but until it does, you might as well use it, right? Because the reality is I'm not going to I have no way of turning it off. So I might as well use it to make some money until we are subservient to it. Okay. So here's my challenge for you. Okay. And I'll end it with this. Identify the 3 best lead choices that you want to work out for the remainder of the year. We've got about 5 months left, right? So what's the next 3 best lead choices? If you focus on 3 for the next 90 days, you're going to start to master those 3. You focus on 5, you're never going to master it. Okay, it's always going to feel clunky. It's always going to feel bad to you. Number 2, create your daily, weekly rhythm. Whether it's 5 DMs, 5 Facebook, 5 note cards, 2 follow-ups, 2. Figure out what your weekly or your daily rhythm is so that you feel like a business. You go into the business, you open the door, you unlock it, you turn on the lights, you turn on the donut maker, you start making donuts, you let customers come in and they pay for it. That's what a donut place does. What is your rhythm? What is your rhythm of your business that you actually do every day? Lastly, set up a follow-up system in your CRM. There should never be a lead that comes in that you don't answer one of those two questions. Okay, so you follow them up until they say, leave me alone, or I'm willing, or come help me. Okay, and if you'll do those three simple things over the next week to 2 weeks, I promise you your business will start to feel different. More importantly, it'll look different. And with that, guys, I appreciate it. Thanks for listening.
Kevin. Oh, did he jump? Oh, I thought you jumped out. I was like, man, he just did a mic drop and I'm out. Okay, Kevin, I love it. And before anyone has a question, by the way, guys, if you guys have a question, put it in the comments or please unmute. So I have a very specific question because everyone talks about systems. Everyone talks about having a game plan, and I know you only have a couple minutes to answer this. But if you were to summarize, okay, you're telling me I need a game plan, and you're telling me I need a system. What is a system? Because everyone talks about systems. What is a system? And if you need help answering this, I'd love to, because this is I love nerding out on this. What is a system? How would you define a system? And how from someone who has no idea what a business plan is, no idea how to create one, how do you tell someone who knows, starting from zero, create a business plan?
Great question. I go in depth in the one that I do because I start from what you want your personal bank account, which most coaches don't start there. They start with what do you want to, how many deals you want to close or what's your GCI, which I don't think is, I've noticed over the years that whatever number the agent says in that is not really the number they really are thinking about, but they just don't correlate it. So I start with what the number most agents are thinking about is like, how much money do you want in your personal bank account every single month? And then we work backwards from there to get to a number. And until you do that, everybody on this call is invited to, I'm going to do an online one in October. You're invited to mine. Get Tom Ferry's, get Bill and Tim and Julie Harris. I don't care who you get. But literally the very first thing you should do, if you don't even know what that number is, I think you start with what I just said. Figure out where your leads are going to come from. That's number one. From a system standpoint, I would tell you, if you should have a system in place where you put it in, and again, this could be an Excel spreadsheet if you don't want to do tech, but if you don't want to do tech, why are you on this call? But if you put it into a technical system, you should be able, at let's say over the next 6 to 8 months, within 6 to 8 months, you should be able to open up your dashboard every morning, and that dashboard tells you exactly what you should be doing that day. Because you've followed up with people, you've done stuff, and you've put tags, and you've put it in there. I need to follow with them in 2 weeks. I need to check back with them in a month, and then all of a sudden you come in the morning, and those little notifications pop up. When you can get there, and 60% of your day is just answering the questions that you asked yourself over the past 6 months, and just put it in. That's when you know you have a pretty good system.
I love that. Systems. Everyone talks about systems. Everyone talks about business plans, and where I've heard from conversations with some of these agents, they're starting their business plan, in March, or they're starting in July, and it's like the second best time to the first best time to plan a business plan is the day that you start a business, and some would even argue well in advance of that, and the second best time is today. And there's no shame in starting in August. There's no shame in starting at the beginning of the year, beginning of the month, end of the week. There's no shame in any of that. You don't have to wait till January 1st to do that. And Kevin, you bring up a really good topic. I realize in listening to this that I think we do need more systems training. I think we need more business plan training. And when I say systems training, because again, that's a real big buzzword. I'm going to try to take 60 seconds to explain this thought, and on Friday, if we can open this class up. So, from a very high level, you have multiple steps in any process, right? It's you get a lead, they fill out some information, they talk with you. You guys want to go see houses. You get the person gets pre-approved. You submit an offer. Offer's accepted, right? So to create a system, plan for all the things that are expected to go right, from A to Z. And this is the most simplified version I can come up with on a system. But you plan things as they're supposed to happen correctly. And the thing is, once you plan step A, step B, step C, step D, etc., all the way to the end, then you come in here and say, okay, well, if they don't move from step 1 to step 2, then what's going to happen? Well, what's going to happen is I'm going to insert this automation, right? Or I'm going to insert this notification, this task for me, so that when someone doesn't move from step 1 to step 2, they get inserted into this automation. And what Kevin said earlier in this call, guys, I don't know if you guys picked this up, but he said you should have something telling you what to do. How many of us got into real estate so that we didn't have a boss? But now we have 50 bosses, or we have 20 bosses. And so no one is telling us what to do on a daily basis. We don't have a boss. We don't have a CEO. We are the chief everything officer, right? And so when Kevin is talking about you need to get something that does things on your behalf, that does the thinking for you, this is what I'm talking about. In your process, you plan for the things that, assuming everything's going to go hunky-dory, perfect. But when they don't, when they're not perfect, what happens? This is the system. The steps in between, the things that do the thinking for you. I don't know if does this make sense, guys? I know I try to keep it really short here. But does that make sense? Right? So, all right. We're going to end on time. Anyone else have any questions before we let our awesome Kevin Harris out of here? Any questions, comments? Awesome. Well, tomorrow, guys, it's going to be myself and Heather. We're going to talk about communities, and we're also going to do a little sneak peek on emails and newsletters. Wednesday, we have another guest, Sarah Jordan. She's going to be coming with us. She's going to, you guys have the opportunity on Wednesday, same time, same link, to ask her questions about what she's doing to close transactions using Cloud System. So like Kevin said, pick 1 to 3 lead sources and go all in on those lead sources. And then Thursday, we're going to do same link, same time. If you want your call reviewed, join us on Thursday. And then if you guys want to spend an hour with myself and the rest of the team, join us on Friday. All right, guys.